Good evening. I'm Spot On Weather meteorologist Matthew Euler, and tonight we're going to take a look at the September average weather for Southeastern Virginia. And I want to mention that all weather data is courtesy of WeatherSpark. That's a great website where you can get a lot of great climatological data. If you want to check a location around the world, for example, the average weather, wherever you may be trying to travel to, it's a great site at weatherspark.com. All right, so let's start it off tonight with taking a look at the average temperatures. Let's start off with average temperatures. Beginning of September, that's going to be in this block right here, from the 1st to the 30th, right between August and October. The average high temperature start off the month at 82 degrees Fahrenheit. And you'll notice as the month progresses how the average high temperatures will decrease over time, down to an average high of 75 degrees by the end of September, the 30th. And then the average low start off at 70 degrees September 1st and eventually work their way down, dropping 8 degrees down to 62 for the average by the time we reach September 30th. With the average cloud coverage, you'll notice that about 30% of the time, Southeast Virginia has basically has an overcast sky condition, and then 30 to 40% of the time, we generally are in mostly cloudy conditions. And then you'll notice the clear, and watch how it goes from or basically how it goes from just above 35% all the way up to near 60% by the time we get to the end of September. So conditions get clearer and clearer as we get further into the month. All right, now let's take a look at the probability of precipitation. The probability of precipitation, and it's of course in the form of liquid during September. We're still plenty warm for that here in Southeast Virginia. We're looking at an average between 31% probability of precipitation on the 1st of September down to 26%. Again, that kind of matches and coincides up with average cloud coverage, where you have your clear sky conditions actually increasing over time throughout the month, and your probability of precip will drop off as we get more transit high pressure systems coming down from Canada, which actually acts to dry the air mass out. The average precipitation amounts beginning of September 1st, the range is basically 4.2 inches at the beginning of the month, down to 3.9 inches by the end of the month. So your average monthly precipitation range is between 3.9 and 4.2 inches. The total day length. All right, so as the month of September wears on, we generally start off the month with 12 hours and 57 minutes of daylight. And then as we get towards the autumnal equinox, the first day of autumn, the average amount of daylight is 12 hours and 8 minutes. And then that line continues to decrease the amount of daylight to just under 12 hours by the end of September. The sunrise and sunset times. At the beginning of the month, the sunset is at 7:31 p.m. And then watch as the month goes on how this number drops down to 6:48 p.m. sunset time by the end of September. And then the sunrise times, they will continue to increase from 6:35 on the 1st of September all the way up to 6:58 a.m. sunrise time by the end of September. The average relative humidity for Southeast Virginia in September, starting off with 64% on the 1st, the air mass continually dries out as we get those transient dry air masses, more frequent cold frontal passages, so those drier continental polar type air masses come down from Canada into Southeast Virginia and the Mid-Atlantic region as a whole. So that's why you see a drop off, average relative humidity only 28%, and conditions get quite comfortable as the month progresses as well. Things are fairly muggy at the beginning of September, but then they do drop off throughout the month. The average wind speed, starting off at 5.5 miles per hour average speed September 1st, a slow, steady increase to 6.2 mile per hour average wind speed by the end of September. That is due to some increased pressure gradients, mid-latitude systems, low pressure systems, and frontal systems that will become more frequent by the end of the month. So it increases the pressure gradient, which ultimately increases the average wind speed. The average wind direction for September. If you take a look at this, The winds are generally primarily from, for the most part, three directions. From the south, right in the pinkish areas here. From the east in the greenish color area here, and then the blue indicates the wind directions from the north. So southeast and north are the primary wind directions for the month across Southeast Virginia. Now you'll notice how over time the southerly winds tend to get thinner, the frequency decreases. We have a lot of winds that come in off the Atlantic Ocean from the east. That even gets a little bit less towards the end of the month. And then the frequency of winds from the north starts increasing a little bit, getting a little bit wider towards the end of the month of September. And the average water temperatures, now this plays a big role as far as hurricane season goes. Starting off on September 1st, your average water temperature is 77 degrees Fahrenheit. But look at this, we drop off about 5 degrees. We're dropping off 5 degrees all the way down to an average sea surface temperature or water temperature of 72 by the end of the month. So we're starting to see a drop off or a decline. We've definitely have reached our peak as far as the water temperature goes. The average incoming shortwave radiation from the sun. All right, so average starts at 5.6 kilowatt hours on the 1st of September, and then you lose basically one whole kilowatt hour all the way through the end of September. We're down to 4.6 kilowatt hours of incoming shortwave solar radiation. So what this means is that the sun is getting less intense. The incoming rays of the sun are starting to decrease, and a lot of that also has to do with the time of the day. As we went back to the sunrise sunset times as well as the day length, how we lose daylight. We lose daylight. The sunset times get earlier. The sunrise times get later, and ultimately what you end up with is a less intense sun as we get towards the autumnal equinox and beyond. And then this is October. Look at the big drop off we're going to have in October. So the incoming shortwave radiation starts decreasing. The intensity of the sun is decreasing more and more with each passing day from September on into late fall and the wintertime. All right, so just a reminder where to find Spot On Weather on social media. We are on Twitter, we are on Facebook, and we are on Instagram. Here's the Facebook address right here. And you look for the image of the red barn. On Instagram, there is our address. On Twitter, you can find us there at this address here. And then this is our website where I'll do occasional weather blogs, especially when the weather becomes more active. We go ahead and post the blogs on there. Again, need more weather updates, whether it's Hurricane Irma, whether it's any of the tropical systems, or any other weather that pops up in your neighborhood. Subscribe to Spot On Weather for the most accurate weather forecasts. We are out of Southeast Virginia. We would love to hear from you, so please feel free to comment to get us on any of these social media sites. And we do appreciate your viewership for sure. I hope everyone has a great evening. This wraps up the September average weather for Southeast Virginia for this evening. I wish everybody a pleasant Sunday evening.